now.
Welcome everyone, and this is of course the naughty list. Meow. All that good shit. Anyway, I am joined here. I am the villain. I am joined by the Queen Nicole and the arsonist Jay. We are going to do our top 10 horror sci-fi. So, both of these people have not been here before, I believe. So let's go to Nicole. How you feeling, girl?
I'm feeling good. I'm excited to do this. I have never done it before, never have been on the naughty list. So I think this is going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited to see what's on your lists as well as share mine. So I'm excited. It's going to be a fun night.
All right. Ooh, the arsonist himself. Jay, what's up, brother?
That was a little bit of mad shade thrown right there. It's okay. She must have seen me on another one of these list episodes where my choices are always eclectic as usual. That being said, man, I'm here to have a good time, bro. I just want to get my fucking top 10 out of the way. Let's see what everybody else got. I'm ready to shoot the queen shit down.
All right. Yep. Let's go to number 10. Let's start with the queen herself. What do you have for number 10?
My number 10 movie was The Ring. Actually.
Okay.
No? Nobody?
Yeah. Are you talking the American remake or the original Japanese version?
No, the American remake that came out in 2002 with Naomi Watts. No? That was one of my favorites when I was little.
Yeah.
I was only 11 when it came out, and it was one of my absolute favorites then. I don't know why, just her coming out of the TV and you have 7 days. It was just one of my favorites at that time.
Yeah. It didn't make my list.
Oh. Yeah, no, I didn't think it would really make either of your lists. Just to me, I think because my stepsister and I would just watch it repeatedly, and it just was a good storyline to me. Now the sequel and all that, I didn't care for, but the very first one, it was just one of my absolute favorites. It still is.
Yeah, the sequel, the entire lines got mad convoluted when you could pass your days off to somebody else by forcing somebody else to watch it. I was just like, that's fucking ridiculous. It's not a bad movie. I still would have chosen the original Japanese version over the American version, but I mean, it's not a bad choice. It's definitely a movie that has both sci-fi and horror to it.
Yeah, it has both in it, and the fact I really like Naomi Watts in it. And I liked the storyline. I think they should have stopped with that one. It definitely crossed too much. Like you said, where you could pass your days to people and stuff like that. That was way, way, way too much. So definitely they should have stopped with the first one. But to me, it'll definitely be one of my all-time favorite. At this point, a little classic because I'm old now. But at the time, it was kind of terrifying to me. I'm what if I put this tape in and it tells me I have 7 days? Then the second one came out, and I was like, oh, this is dumb. But the first one, I feel I'll always and I love Naomi Watts. So to me, it's one of my favorites.
All right. Let's jump to number 10 from the arsonist. What do you got?
I've got a movie probably nobody has seen. It's another movie from 2002, but it's an across the pond film. It's called Dog Soldiers. It's got Sean Pertwee in it, the Fourth Doctor's son.
That's when they hide out in a tank and shit.
I can't remember if they hide out in a tank, but they get attacked by werewolves in the Scottish Highlands. They're basically a SEAL. They're the Scottish version of the SEAL Team 6, and they go for routine training in the mountains, and they end up being attacked by this clan of werewolves. It has the cheesiest special effects ever, but if you watch this movie at 12 years old, you will sleep with a silver bowl to bludgeon anything that goes bump in the night for a week. I can tell you that from personal experience.
All right. I have not seen that film, so yeah, it's not on my list, so I can't really say nothing about it.
I've never seen that either, but I'll have to watch it now.
Oh, It's a good movie. I would definitely recommend it. Like, especially if you like cheese in your horror films. It definitely has that now. Looking back at it,
You're gonna have to send me the title because I'll forget it, but it sounds
I got
pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's only horror, but we're doing horror sci-fi and
oh, I'm sorry, werewolves are definitely sci-fi. Like
werewolves, not really sci-fi. They're more, but okay. My
Then
10.
I'm gonna tell you now, like my list is already gonna be messed up then.
Oh yeah. All right.
So
I'm
you're
gonna
gonna
go
hate my list.
my number 10 is straight B horror / sci-fi film that is just stupid as hell. It's from 1988, and that is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh goodness.
This one was straight fucking cheese. I got the DVD in the room. You know, the horror, they had a plenty of horror with the killings and stuff. The sci-fi elements was that these fucking aliens came to Earth, and this movie was supposed to take place like I think the 50s or 60s. So it was was it the 50s or 60s? It was a weird film. It doesn't hold up. It is cheesy as hell, but it is the practical effects with the killing and all this shit they do, and the clowns, they looked at, demented, so this was one of those ones that kind of flew under the radar.
I have such a funny story about this movie. Go ahead.
And that's why it's my number 10.
So this movie, it was my 13th birthday, I want to say, and my dad let me have friends sleep over. And we went to the movie store to rent movies. And we wanted to get a bunch of horror movies. And they're like, well, no, because like their parents might not be okay with it and yada, yada, yada. So we were being smart ass like children and just picked out a bunch of random dumb movies. So we just grabbed like the cheesiest, dumbest, like Elmo, Sesame Street, because we were having a fit. We're like, okay, you want to treat us like children? We'll be children. And then one was Killer Clowns from Outer Space because it looked so dumb. So the only movie that we even watched that night was Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And all I can remember is them like turning people into like cotton candy. And it was like the cheesiest, dumbest movie I have ever seen, but it was so funny that you just like couldn't stop watching. But that's how I even saw that. Like we were just being bratty, like you won't let us get this, so we're just gonna spend your money getting like stupid movies. And that was the movie that we ended up with and watching, and it was hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's stupid funny, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Jay, you don't have this on your list, I assume.
I don't have it on my list, and that's mainly because of the super cheese factor of this. Because I thought this was more of like, yeah, there's some horror elements to it. I thought this was more of like a sci-fi comedy with a little bit of horror to it. Like it's the same reason that Shaun of the Dead didn't make my list. But yeah, no, this movie is, you say this movie doesn't hold up. I kind of disagree with you. You don't get fucking B horror movies like this anymore. And to tell you the truth, that kind of sucks. Because if you take all of the comedy out of this and you turn this into just like a straight up horror sci-fi movie, another one of those things that could be completely fucking terrifying, but they cut that tension with comedy. I do like this movie, but you're right, it did not make my list.
All right, so we're gonna go to number 9, and we're just gonna go from we'll just go to me. I'm gonna go to my number 9, and my number 9 is going to be one of my favorite horror characters of all time. He is Jason, and this is Jason X from 2001. This is a guy that built his rep on straight horror films, and then when you didn't know where they're going to go next, they went straight to outer space, spaceships, robots, Jason in the future just killing motherfuckers. This is a perfect combo of a horror / sci-fi film.
It's a good one. It's not on my list, but I love that movie.
I don't like this movie, but I can understand why it's on your list. I always have a problem with shit like this, and like the Freddy Krueger movies. And like every movie after, hold on, and every movie after like Halloween 3, when they turned fucking Michael Myers into some sort of supernatural fucking assassin, like they took the thing that made these movies scary and completely got rid of it.
But that's where like the sci-fi part of all these movies come
in. I know. I mean, I kind of figured the sci-fi part of this movie would come in when they shot his ass into fucking space. Hey, yeah, no, when they're in the room and they're doing the like super fucking VR fucking video game shit, and he just comes through and he slices old boy in half. I'm like, yes, okay, see, but like, I like this movie. It's another one of them ones that didn't make my list.
All right.
Okay, I should say I kind of like this movie.
Yeah, it's just perfect combo of horror / sci-fi for me. So, it always gets a spot. It's just mad cheese. It's not a great film, but,
I feel like all of those like people like that you mentioned are like the perfect combo of that, because they're basically, the sci-fi part of it is they're basically immortal, and it's obviously has the good horror. So it is cheesy, but it's good.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's go to the arsonist then. What is your number 9?
Okay, so I know I just kind of railed on that one for being cheesy, and I will allow the both of you.
What's your number 9?
Y'all can both do that to this one. I do think that this deserves a place on the list, and if I didn't have a couple of choices that were a little bit better, I would place it a little bit higher. But Army of Darkness is my number 9.
It's not on my list.
Nope.
That is sad. This is one of the best Bruce Campbell movies of all time. I didn't want to choose Bubba Hotep because that was on that was a choice from another list that I had. And it's not as horrific as this one is. But if you think about it, this is kind of like outside of, like Evil Dead, which I guess would be a decent choice as well. This is like the lesser of the two, but I think it's the better one to go for the horror and science fiction portion instead of just the flat out horror that would be Evil Dead. So
this is my number 9. It's not on my list because I don't really consider it sci-fi because
there's time travel.
The evil spirits, ghosts, devil, gods, good and evil. It just I don't know. But yeah, I guess the time travel. I guess yeah. All right, let's see what the Queen has. She's still there.
Yep, my number 9 was I have all mine out of order. Mine was, I don't know if you guys have seen it. You might. It's a 1998 movie called The Faculty.
The Faculty?
Yes, I can never pronounce it correctly. Don't make fun of my L's. Faculty.
Oh, I had that on my list, but I took it off.
It was on your list?
Yep.
With Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood, and Usher.
Yep.
Josh Hartnett was my obsession when I was younger. So that's what prompted me to see this movie, but I thought it was so good.
It was.
I still have it on DVD, and it's just such a good movie. Did you ever see it, Jay?
I did, and I do believe it is pronounced Ursher.
Okay.
It didn't make my list. That's definitely one thing that I know about this movie. I don't remember Elijah Wood in this movie, so I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch
Yeah.
it.
He was the
But
main character. He was
So,
again, it's also been about 20 years since I've seen the movie, so like, give me a break.
they were youngins then. I don't even think he
Yeah.
was that famous at that point.
Oh, I don't
it
think
was,
he was
it was
either.
an ensemble cast, you know, with all like the up and comers.
Yeah. And that was right because that was in 98. That was right after Josh Hartnett just had like his first movie, but it was so good when all the teachers were like infected. And
Oh, I was gonna ask, isn't it like a remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Yeah.
yeah, and
Okay.
they were all
That's what I thought.
infected, and then like at the end, like they all like snapped out of it and stuff, but the students had to save them and all that. But to me, that's always been one of my favorite movies ever. But it's like the perfect combination of sci-fi and horror at the same time. But it's very good, and I highly recommend it. It's a little bit cheesy, but it's from 98. What do you expect? But that's like the perfect amount, and those are my favorite type of movies. And
I think to a certain degree, all horror movies have a level of cheese.
yeah, but I feel like the
you get to
90s
an
movies,
excessive level.
like all the old movies to me are so much better than like the new releases, but that's just my opinion. Like it's
Like the new ones just try too hard.
yeah, like I feel like the new ones are just like the more like blood they can use is what
Tarantino-esque levels of blood.
yeah, there's no like not a good storyline to it. Those at least like have a really good storyline, so I highly recommend it. It's a very good movie.
I had it on my list, but I had to take it off. It was my number 10, and Killer Clowns just was a little better for me. But yeah, this one was. They had Frankie Jane. What the hell was her last name, man? I can't even think.
Famke Jensen.
Yep, she was in it as a teacher. We had what the hell was that female's name that was in it too? She was kind of like the outcast kid in the. I don't know, but it had a good cast, you know, and of course, you know, it had that horror elements to it with all the crazy shit going on with the monsters and the sci-fi element, you know, these things trying to like, you know, coming from another place, trying to take over bodies. But yeah, it got bumped off, but I had it at number 10 at one point. But it got bumped off my list. All right. So now we're going to go to everybody's number 8. The King. What did you got for number 8?
Hold on one second. Go to Jay.
All right, Jay. Arsonist. What you got for number 8, brother?
For number 8, I have The World's End. The last movie in the Cornetto trilogy. It is, in my opinion, the most serious of the 3. And speaking of an Invasion of the Body Snatchers type movie, I think this is Edgar Wright, Nick Frost, and Simon Pegg's best collaboration together. This movie, like, genuinely kind of terrified me. This movie only came out like years ago. But it's one of those ones that just kind of builds up, and then, you know, you get the reveal like right at the beginning of the second act, and then you're like, okay, now I'm just fucking hooked. And you see that it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And this isn't the first time they've done this to a place, and then you just kind of have humans who fuck everything up. It's definitely a movie I would recommend watching if you haven't seen it.
Oh yeah, it was a great film, but it didn't make my list though. It didn't really have. There was nothing really scary about it, you know. They kind of like their films always just like it's more jokes, you know, and so it was like nothing was ever like suspenseful enough where I'm like, oh shit, you know, like oh, you know. So that's why I didn't make my list. Nicole,
I mean, fair enough.
Did not make my list, and this is an okay movie, but not one of my like absolute favorites. But no, it did not make my list. And sorry, my camera decided to just turn itself off and not turn back on. So sorry, but no, it was not on my list.
All right, let's go to your number 8, Nicole.
My number 8, I don't really know if this honestly qualifies, but whatever, it's my number 8. But I had Freddy versus Jason. To me, the sci-fi part is the fact that they just cannot be killed. They're like immortal. And it is horror from 2003. Like, to me, I feel like it's sci-fi kind of, because they really can't be killed. But if not, sorry, but that's my number 8.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is not on my list because to me, it's not sci-fi. When you're dealing with demons and shit, to me, that's not really sci-fi. That's more horror thing.
To me, it's not really. They're not really demons though, because they were people.
Yeah, but like Michael Myers, I wouldn't consider Michael Myers films sci-fi. You know, and
You do or you don't?
I don't. So these characters kind of in the same vein. You know, the only reason Jason X was on my list because they took
a sci-fi space.
Yeah, and he went into space.
Fine. Well, we'll knock that off and we'll go with.
Well, hold up.
I had an extra one.
Hold up. I actually think that this one should make it just because the end of the movie was ambiguous as it was, with Jason walking away with Freddy's head and him giving a little wink to the screen.
That's not sci-fi. That was comedy.
I wouldn't necessarily. It's breaking the fourth wall to a certain degree, but that doesn't necessarily make it. That doesn't necessarily make it sci-fi. What makes it sci-fi is the fact that you have one person who does nothing but haunt somebody's dreams, and then you have this killer who, even if he dies, goes to hell. He can come back if somebody reads some fucking gay words from a. Oh no, you're never going to be able to get rid of that fucking shambling man with the hockey mask. What am I going to do? I just have to be able to walk faster than him. The thing that makes those movies sci-fi is the fact that people still die to them motherfuckers. That's my whole opinion on that one. But I still do believe that if, even with the whole space when it comes to Jason X, I still think that even the crossover event, because it's a crossover event, you don't really get that outside of comic books, and all comic books can technically be considered science fiction. You have these two people who meet who would otherwise never meet and then fight. Muhammad Ali and Superman, Jason versus Freddy.
Right.
I should slap myself for even making that comparison. I just wanted to throw it out there. All right, enough from these idiots. I'm gonna go with my number.
Hey now.
My number 8.
Fucking chucklehead.
Wait, does that count or no?
Of course, whatever you guys say. There's no right or wrong. It's just whatever you guys. That's your.
I didn't even get to talk about it.
You about?
I'm just kidding.
Haven's like, fuck off.
I'm talking about.
Go ahead.
All right, now we're down to.
If the Hornet, or the Wasp really made you mad today. Don't even let me talk about my number 8.
Did you say your number 8?
Yeah, you just yelled at me about it. Freddy versus Jason.
You talked about it.
No, I didn't. All I said was
just tell me to shut the.
The Wasp, fuck you up today. You're like, nope, next.
All right, talk about it.
Well, no, now I don't have anything to say, so go ahead.
She didn't have anything to say about it originally, bro. Just fucking lays down with your number 7, my guy.
I mean, I did, but now I'm over it.
Oh my goodness! All right, this show just went off the rails, and we're gonna go to number 7. Let's start with the arsonist.
You said you had to do your number 8 still. Did you say yours?
No, you still have to do yours, bro.
Yeah, you didn't do your number 8.
You started with me because her camera fucked up. Then she said some dumbass shit, and we fucking just laughed at it. And now you have to give us your number 8.
And then you said dumber ass shit.
All right.
I never said I didn't.
Book mess.
We're gonna go to my number 8 film. My number 8 film is going to be Cloverfield. Cloverfield This movie I was anticipating when I seen the trailer. I didn't know what it was going to be about, but to me, this one holds up, man. I like the shaky cam. I like the POV. I like that it was originally looked like something from outer space, but then they said it was from like the deep sea. You know, it had Cloverfield Paradox. I thought was a great film that dropped on after the Super Bowl. You know, I really enjoyed that one too. But yeah, man, a big ass monster, you know, terrorizing the fucking
New York.
man was this shit was I really enjoyed this film. Bad Robot did a great job. JJ Abrams did a great job. Yeah, so I'm gonna put that as my number 8 because yeah, that was a good horror sci-fi.
Yeah. It's not on my list, but it was a pretty good movie.
This movie gave me a seizure. Like I'm being dead serious. The shaky cam fucked me up, and the worst part about it is I was actually hyped for this movie, but movies like the Blair Witch Project do it to me too. They make me fucking twitchy, but this one, like, literally, I fucking twitched for like 5 minutes straight and have no recollection of like the middle portion of this movie. So like if I could take every portion of shaky cam out of this movie, it would probably be about 4.5 minutes long, and I could probably still get a majority of the story. It didn't make my list either, and the shaky cam is the reason as to why it didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
it was really shaky.
But you're not wrong. J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot did a really good job from, you know, what I've seen of the movie. It just sometimes, man.
Yeah. That was a good movie. That I didn't even think of that one, honestly.
But yeah, I like the fact that show like something falling into the ocean at the very I think they do it at the end of the movie, but it's like the very beginning of the movie, quote unquote, you know, just
Yep.
And you know, obviously it's not a monster from outer space, but it is something from the deep. But whatever fell into the ocean is what woke it up. It was a great little sneak in there. And I thought it paid homage to, you know, older movies like Godzilla, which I thought was kind of super cool. But just the principal photography of this movie is what I have an issue with, and that's why I didn't choose it as one on my list. But other than that, it's a fucking excellent choice, bro. Like,
yeah, it was a really good choice. I just didn't think of it, honestly, but it's a really good choice.
All right, we already done with our 10 through 8. Now we're gonna go to number 7, and we're gonna go to The Arsonist first. What you got, brother?
Okay, so I think people will classify this one more as sci-fi action, but at least the first one with the occult. I mean, even the second one, I'm lumping two together. And that's Hellboy 1 and 2.
Okay. Let's talk about it, brother.
The entire fight scene with Samael in the subway, the what the fuck were they, elves in the second one?
It looked like
that exactly. You know, they take all of these things from folklore that, you know, people have taken and twisted into this nice little version of it, and then, you know, they're not. You know, the release of the Tooth Fairies, where the Tooth Fairies fucking just eat everybody, is one of those things that, you know, you'd find in something like a Hans Christian Andersen fucking story,
like,
or
to me that's sci-fi horror.
That I mean, so it works, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's still people dying and
right.
Things like that. Like, to me, that counts.
the clockwork guy from the first one who had sand throughout his body. It's not that these movies like scared me or anything, but I could definitely see these movies both falling under horror and sci-fi.
Right.
And these are like, oh shit, I didn't choose Pan's Labyrinth. Fuck.
Right.
But these are still two of my favorite Del Toro movies. These are movies that made an imprint on me, and honestly, I can't wait to see how David Harbour does in the fucking remake. But I still wanted to see GDT's fucking Hellboy 3, and I'm sad we don't get to see that. But that being said, Hellboy 1 and 2 are my choice for number 7.
Awesome.
All right, let's go to Nicole. Let's see what she got for number 7.
Number 7, honestly, I picked Life. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie.
I've seen it.
Okay. I do not like that movie, but the reason that it made my list is the fact that I like the small portion that Ryan Reynolds was in. And I liked the beginning of the movie. The rest of it, like, I was bored through. But it wasn't, I don't know. Like, to me, it was like, eh. Who I went to see it with, like, loved it. So I have, like, mixed feelings about it. I feel like I want to see it again. Like, I saw it in theaters. But, like, I loved Ryan Reynolds in it. And it had a really good cast. And the storyline, like, it was good. I just feel like I liked it, but I don't know. Like, I have mixed feelings about it. But it's, I don't know.
No, it was a really great film. It just that to me, it just was like one of those things that was like new age, a little too artsy.
Yeah.
So but yeah, that's a good one to have on your list.
I mean, I put it on there just to talk about, and just because, like, I don't know. I was like, oh, this is such a waste of my life when I was watching it, and I really like Ryan Reynolds, and I liked him in it for the first, like, 20 minutes that he was in it. But other than that, like, it's not a favorite movie of mine at all. But I think it could have been really it was a good cast, and I enjoyed the cast of it. But other than that,
It was a good cast.
yeah.
But yeah, so you're saying life was a waste of your life. I remember it was that when this movie started, when its trailers dropped, right? Everybody was like spreading rumors, talking about like, oh man, it might be like a prequel to fucking Venom, and
Yeah.
that was the only thing really cool about that film. But yeah, it was.
Well, I saw it. I was dating somebody at the time, and he's like, it looks so horrifying. He's like, it looks so scary. Let's go see it. Through the whole movie, I'm like, are you kidding me? You made me come sit through this. I'm like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm like, this is what you call horrifying? And I was like, just complaining through the whole thing. I'm like, I will pay you if we can leave. And he's just like, oh, stop it. It's not that bad. And I'm just like looking at my phone through the whole thing, like, please be over, please be over, please be over. But like, it was terrible, but I liked the cast of it. So that's the only reason it made my list, is because I really liked Ryan Reynolds in it. But I know that's like not the reason it should make a list, but I feel like the cast deserved to make the list for that movie.
All right. Jay, your thoughts on life?
My thoughts on other people's thoughts on life is she keeps saying the cast, but the only person that she mentions is Ryan Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the boy Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal was really, I loved him too. I do.
This is that movie about that thing that killed everything on Mars, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, no, I watched about 20 minutes of this movie and got fucking bored.
And wanted to kill yourself?
No, I turned the fucking movie off and started watching a better movie. Then you should have opened your fucking phone, put some headphones in, and started watching a better movie.
I couldn't just turn a new movie on in the theater. No, Jake Gyllenhaal is one of my favorites.
Hold on. I mean, you got a cell phone,
right?
right?
We're gonna go to my number 7.
Hey,
My
I feel
number
like you guys are done.
my number 7 is a film starring a person that the arsonist talked about earlier, and that is the 2011 film Attack of the Block. Attack the Block.
John Boyega, baby.
Yep. This was a kind of a sleeper film that came out. Nobody really talked about it. It started getting like cult classic status. It's it's kind of a stoner horror sci-fi film. These fucking things come from outer space, and the only people that really could defend it was some hooligan kids, man, from the hood, and they knew about it, and they were they got prepared. I like the unique style of it, the way they incorporated the weapons that they could make and shit. And this one was good, you got some good killings in it from the monsters, and the kids. They were doing their thing, man. And it was unique because it was a film from across the pond, so the accents probably throw you off, but the whole setting of it, the whole feel of it, I thought it was actually a pretty cool horror / sci-fi film, and I think everybody should at least watch this thing one time, and that's why it's my number 7.
See, this movie didn't get talked about until John Boyega got cast in fucking Star Wars, and that's a fucking shame because this movie came out in what, like 2014, right?
2011.
It was 2011. Okay, see, and that's how fucking far behind I am. But this was a good movie. Like, legitimately, I enjoyed this movie, and it's really kind of hard to find movies like, at least science fiction-y horror movies from across the pond that are really good. The only other one that this movie didn't make my list. It's mainly because I didn't even think about it, because this seemed more of like an action sci-fi movie to me than a horror movie. But this movie to me is like that movie Doomsday. The fucking Scottish movie where everybody's trapped behind a fucking wall for 30 years after the fucking the apocalypse or whatever. It's one of those hidden gems that if you find it, you might not talk about it all the time, but it's one of those movies that will always be brought up when you're talking about good science fiction movies.
I own that movie. I love that movie. It's not on my list because I try to put it up here, but it just doesn't have the sci-fi or really element too much to me, where I'm just like, but yeah, that was because it's listed. No, I think it's listed as it's one or the other, but it's not both. So I was like, God damn it.
I think it's sci-fi thriller, technically, is what it's.
Yeah.
But
yeah. All right. If nobody else has anything else to say, we're gonna go to number 6. Let's go to the Queen first. What do you have at number 6?
My number 6 was Prometheus.
If it's higher on our list, we say pause, right?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to double check. I didn't actually. Prometheus is one of my. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to double check. But Prometheus is one of my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I didn't. I'm like you. I didn't rank my list until like 3 minutes before we fucking started the live feed. So good. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
All right, Prometheus. Queen, take it away.
Wait, don't we pause it?
No. No, it's not higher on my list. That's why we don't pause it.
Oh, I thought you said it is.
And no, I thought it was, but
okay.
the whole we ranked these things like 3 minutes before. It's in my honorable mentions.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, I thought this movie was really good. 2012 it came out. I saw that in the theater as well. I don't know. I just thought it had the horror part to it, obviously, the sci-fi. It was a really well put together movie. I thought it had really good effect to it. Great storyline. It was interesting. It kept you watching. It had good special effects, and overall just a really great movie. Obviously, Jay, you liked it too.
It had Idris Elba smoking a blunt.
Yeah, it did.
Screen. I actually this is actually one of my favorite of, and I will call it it's technically an Alien movie. It's part of the Alien franchise.
Right.
It's a prequel. I thought
I was
this
gonna
movie
say it was
was
the prequel, right?
yeah, I thought this movie was
Yeah.
really well done until like the end of the third act when she started running away from the falling ship and she ran lengthwise instead of running sideways. That was about the only thing that I could think of that I really didn't like about this movie. I like the fact that, you know, they bring in the Wayland Yutani Corporation. I like the fact that you have, I believe, it's Michael, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Michael Fassbender. That's the character that he plays, right? Or am I fucking?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Probably one of the most compelling androids in a science fiction horror movie that I've seen in a long time. And I'd like to see him act more in horror movies. This is like just in sci-fi in general, probably at least my top 5.
Yeah. What's really funny is when I went and saw this movie, I always go see movies with my dad. Like for some reason, like that's just what we do. And we always go see like those type of movies or the new any comic book movies, stuff like that. And we were, besides us, there was only one other guy in the theater, and he sat in the row. Somehow we always end up, somebody comes in, we're the only ones there, and they always sit in the row directly behind us. But this guy must have hated the movie. He slept through the whole thing, and he snored through the whole thing, like head back, just snoring. I'm like, you really hate the movie that bad? You paid $10.50 just to snore? So I'm sitting there like trying to watch the movie, and that's all he's doing. Like he was knocked out. It was so funny. I'm like, I have a story for like every movie I try to see, but yeah, so that's what I remember like the most about Prometheus is this guy just by himself. I'm like, would you just need a nap? You had to get away. You came here. He was just,
You know,
out.
he worked at the theater. He just came in fucking city clothes and was
No,
like,
he was,
nobody watches this fucking movie.
yeah, he was like an old guy. He was just, hanging out. But Haven, what are your thoughts on the movie?
Oh, I thought it was a great fucking film. I own it on DVD. A lot of people shitted on this film. They didn't like it. I liked it because of the sci-fi elements. It was basically a sci-fi film. That's why it's not on my list, because I didn't really see too much horror in it, even though it's part of the Alien, franchise. But this one it didn't really have too much horror for me. But it had all the beats for a sci-fi like thriller, and it was unique. And I dug the scientific answers that they were given. They didn't really give us.
I looked it up. It's sci-fi horror.
Yeah, yeah. But
I think people stopped shitting on this movie once Alien Covenant came out. They were like, oh no, Prometheus is a much better movie than the sequel to Prometheus, because the sequel to Prometheus is fucking hot garbage.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Jay's number 6.
My number 6 is my number 6 is in the same realm because it's in the same fucking franchise. It is the original Alien. Not Aliens, but Alien.
That's my number 6.
This is your number 6?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the same number 6. See, okay, so great minds fucking think alike.
Wait. Haven, how are you gonna put Alien but not Prometheus? How in the same category?
Because Aliens is a way better horror film.
I will give it that. I don't believe
franchise.
It's in the same franchise.
It's better. It's horror and sci-fi, like to both degrees.
Alien is more of a horror sci-fi film than Prometheus is.
That wasp stung you too hard. Go on.
Prometheus is Prometheus is more of like a sci-fi horror thriller.
Like a thinking man sci-fi film.
And not to take away from that, because I literally just said I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. But
But we're talking about Aliens now.
Yeah, we talk about Alien, not Alien. There's a difference.
Carry on.
My wayward son, I am trying. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute you now. Alien is that movie that if I think of a movie that creeps me out, you know, I turned 28 in August. This is a movie that I have seen multiple times in my life, and it is still one of those movies that might not fucking to the bone anymore because I know what's going to happen, but it is still one of those movies that creeps me out. It's one of those movies that makes me watch The Shadows. It's that movie that makes me look over my shoulder every time I hear just this, like, it's that movie. It's that seminal horror movie of your childhood that has made me infatuated with science fiction and horror. Plus, if you read the book is so fucking creepy, dude. The book just adds so much more to the experience of watching the movie. It's
I've
like
never read the book.
It's like reading the Amityville Horror and then watching the good one. Or as Nicole would do, read the book and then watch the one with Ryan Reynolds in it.
I like Jake Gyllenhaal too.
All right.
Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't in Amityville.
All right, yeah, Alien is a great one, man. It was fucking man. Once this one film came out, when I watched it, it was like
it was game over, man. Game over.
What happened with this? It sounds like an echo now. Oh no, it's gone. Yeah, this movie was something else, man. When I watched it for the first time, it really blew me away because it was like, holy shit! Like you know, because sci-fi films at the time were really kind of cheesy, or like some alien would come to Earth and hang out with a kid, or you know, some guy would leave the planet and meet all these weird aliens. But this one was scary. The monster looked really good, and it was really good, man. It was isolated, you know, they were in space on a spaceship. This one was big time. That's why Alien is on my list.
In space, nobody can hear you scream.
All right. So now we're down to the top five. At number 5. I am going with, if I'm not mistaken, where's my 5 at? Here it is. It's going to be, number 5 is 28 Days Later from 2002.
Oh, that was almost on my list.
Nobody has that on their list?
No,
I don't have it on my list.
Literally, it was almost on.
Came out of nowhere. It was a sleeper hit. Holy shit, was this thing scary? And this is the only really kind of like zombie-ish film I have on here because, you know, it was like a, you know, scientific, you know, some plague came about, you know, they were looking for a cure. But this one really hit all the beats when it came to like horror. Like,
it was rage though. They were just super salty.
Yeah, they were rage monsters, and you know,
but they weren't really zombies. They were just super salty.
That's why, you know, like, this one's different, you know, because they had like they weren't zombies, but they were close to it. But they were just still rage. Performances were really good. A lot of these people were up and comers. We had was it Gleason in this film? The old man,
Cillian Murphy. No, wait, you're thinking. I'm thinking of the wrong person.
I'm thinking of the guy from shit. I'm thinking the guy from In Bruges. In Bruges, she was.
Oh, you're thinking Domhnall Gleeson's dad.
Yep.
Brendan Gleeson. And I don't think it was. I don't think it was Brendan Gleeson. I think you might be thinking of Christopher Eccleston.
No, he played the father of the girl. Then he got the crow hit him.
Oh no, you're right. He was in the movie.
Yep. The crow hit him with the blood in the eye, and then he all got berserk. I don't know. This one was really horror. This one was fucking good, man. Like when this shit came out, I was like, whoa! Like it really did. You know, it hit all the beats, man. This one was so dark, so good. At the very end, you know, they got the help sign. showing up like with blankets and shit at the farm. But this one was really cool, man. It was different, but it had the sci-fi where it was like, oh, some scientific, some kind of disease hit man, and Earth is fucked up now, and it took 28 days later.
Okay, so sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Nicole. If you were gonna in here, this is a Danny Boyle zombie film. If Danny Boyle was told by the executives he couldn't use the word zombie.
Yeah.
Not to say that it isn't bad. I like the fact that you brought up the idea of them trying to be scientific about it. That unchecked, unbridled rage can destroy you and can kind of bring about the calamity that happens and create this post-apocalyptic hellscape that the United Kingdoms could be. To tell you the truth, this is another one of them ones that really didn't make my list, but I'm not saying that it's a bad movie. This is one of those movies that I was like, fuck, I need anger management.
I liked it. It was very close to being on my list.
All right. Yeah. All right. If that's it for that, let's go to number 5. We're going to go to the Queen. What do you got for number 5?
Mine, number 5 was the 2007 film 30 Days of Night.
Respect. Good choice. Comic book movie.
Yeah. Of course, Josh Hartnett, my love of my life when I was 13.
Best movie he was in was 40 Days and 40 Nights.
Yeah, it's a good movie. And the lead girl's name was Nicole in that. But basically, so they had a vampire village in that, and the horror aspect, obviously, it turned into a vampire village and all that. But it was just overall a really good film. He and his wife, and all of that. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I need to watch it because it was just a really good film, and it brought sci-fi because obviously the vampires, it brought the horror, it just brought everything to it, and it's just a really good film. And anything Josh Hartnett was in is a good movie.
Lucky Number 11.
That's a good movie. He's a good actor. I don't know why he's in a new show, but
he's in Faculty. All right, let's go to Jay. What do you have for number 5?
Oh, hold up. I wanted to say something about 30 Days of Night right quick. 30 Days of Night reminds me of the old school movie Assault on Precinct 13 with vampires. It's got one of my favorite Nietzsche quotes in it as well. Nietzsche said, "Gott ist tot," God is dead. And I think that's probably one of the best scenes in that entire movie when they're looking at that Nosferatu-looking motherfucker, and that dude's like, "Oh my God!" and he's like, "No, God is dead, bro."
Yeah.
And if you were to have a pack of fucking migrating zombies, the best place to do that is where it's dark all the time. So them doing that in Alaska, I thought it was really good. And this is another one of those underrated movies that I don't think enough people have seen. And go fucking watch it, dude.
No, it's so good.
It still holds up. To this day, this is one of those movies where I'm like, this movie kind of gives me the fucking heebie-jeebies. I wish vampires were real.
And the thing of it is, though, that's one thing I'll say about a lot of movies that Josh Hartnett is in, him as an actor. A lot of his movies are that way. A lot are underrated. Nobody knows about them really. They're all that. There's a lot of them, but that one,
Josh Hartnett is the schmoo.
Yeah, that one is so good. And a lot of the movies that he's in, if you look up his filmography, he's in a lot of good movies that people don't even know about, but that one is definitely underrated, and it's good. Can you just imagine being in 30 Days of Night in real life? It's scary.
Everybody confuses him for fucking Matt Damon.
No. All right,
I don't know how.
What do you got for
my number 5 is a seminal James Cameron film. Takes place at the bottom of the ocean, in a sea lab, if one would. It's The Abyss.
Oh, good movie.
It's aliens, not aliens. You know what I mean? There are aliens involved in this movie, and the tension of whether or not the base might explode, what happens topside, the fact that the aliens may or may not be a thing to the people who aren't experiencing it, is one of those things that, to me at least, were to something like this. That, and I think one of the scariest things for me is I have a fear of drowning. So when they do the liquid oxygen thing and they fucking force at least even the rat through the tests for the liquid oxygen, and you watch the fucking rat die, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this to you, is one of those things that truly just fucking creeps me out as an individual. So my number 5 choice is The Abyss.
All right, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't have this on my list, because to be honest, when it comes to that underwater deep sea ones, Event Horizon probably could have made my list, but I didn't put that on. And yeah, Abyss didn't make mine because it was, it was more easy going, towards the end.
Fair enough.
When the fucking aliens or whatever look like fucking.
Oh no, they were definitely aliens, bro.
They look like what, butterflies or some shit?
Some shit like that. Butterflies, jellyfish, like
yeah, the jellyfish. So it was like, I didn't really have too much horror with it, but it was a really good film.
I don't think, honestly, any of the like sci-fi / horror films are really like horrifying. Like, I think they're classified as that, but they're usually like thrillers. Like, it was hard for me to find something that was like horrifying.
That's true.
It's to quote Dennis Reynolds, the intent.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, if you like all of the ones that I was like thinking of and that I found like that are classified as sci-fi horror, I'm like, there is nothing scary about this movie.
Unless you think about it and you're like, shit, if I was in that situation, that would be scary, fucking horrifying.
Like, it's suspense, yeah, but like horrifying,
it's thrilling, but
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hard to, like, I don't know.
All right,
I'm curious to hear everybody else's number 5s.
Well, we already said. I said mine.
My number 5.
Oh well, the number 4s.
We're going to number 4. All right, let's start with Jay. What do you got number 4?
My number 4 might not necessarily be a horror, but again, we literally just touched on it. If you found yourself in this situation, it might be completely fucking horrifying. My number 4 is Children of Man. The post-apocalyptic world where everybody can't make babies, but everybody wants to kill everybody. And then suddenly there's a baby. Now you have to worry about how to take care of this baby in a world where everybody wants to kill everybody, including babies.
That sounds dumb.
It's
a great fucking movie, excuse you.
Based on the book by the same author that did that film Blindness that they adapted to a film. And it starred the same actress in both films. Clive Owen was really good in that film.
Clive Owen did an excellent job in this movie, dude.
Oh yeah. And I'm blanking on her name, and I love her as an actress. She's like one of my top 3 female actresses. Fuck. She was in
good thing I'm on IMDb.
She was in The Forgotten. She was in Blindness. Fuck. I can't even think of her name right now. It's so fucking.
Are you talking Julianne Moore?
Yes, that is my girl. When it comes to that
sexy and mysterious. This is Julianne Moore.
She's top 3 actresses of all time for me.
But
Children of Man was a good film, and it was sci-fi. The horror to me just wasn't really there. It was more, I don't know.
No, I get that. I get that. Like,
it was a good film. It was a
Or
really good.
one of those things that can be subjective to the individual who's watching it. Again,
Oh, yeah.
going back to our topic on number 5. If you place yourself in that situation, it would be a completely terrifying thing. I just want to give a shout out to Michael Caine and Chiwetel Ejiofor as well for their
Yep.
fucking roles in this movie.
Yeah, they did great.
That movie was it's a great fucking movie, and whether you think it's a horror movie or not, it's definitely one I would recommend. I mean, I guess I've said that about almost every single one of the movies on everybody's
That's why
list.
they're on the list.
That's why they're a top 10, because if you haven't watched them, you fucking need to.
Is anybody watching, like, the chat? Is anybody even watching?
I am
Yeah,
not.
there's no. I don't check the chat because my iPad is low. I gotta plug that shit
I
in.
just didn't know if anybody was actually watching.
Yeah.
At this hour.
Oh yeah. All right. What is your number 4, Queen?
My number 4 is a movie called where'd it go? Oh, Pandorum.
Whoa. Pass.
What's that?
He said pass. That means that he's got it as probably his number 2 or his number 3.
Okay, we'll pass. Do I go again or do we go to you?
Nope. We're going to me.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't make me spit my beer, bro.
My number 4 is a film that we should all take heed from, and that is the John Carpenter. Is it John Carpenter? I hope so now. Shit. The 1988 film starring Roddy Piper, They Live.
They Live. He's here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and he's all out of bubble gum.
Yep.
This is one of the top. This is one of the top 5 all-time wrestling performances on film. The Rock has done a lot of great things, but I don't know if he ever had a defining role like this one. Roddy Piper killed this shit, man, and it was a great film, man. You know, the horror came from, you know, the fucking aliens taking us over and killing people and shit. The way they looked, you know, just a surreal atmosphere. You know, Roddy Piper finding out that you know, we were enslaved by aliens. You know, he got the glasses. You know, he gets his buddy to see the truth. But it was yeah, this one was fucking cool, man. It's one of those ones that more people should watch, and it's a cult classic. And yeah, man, this one was a fun time to watch, and that's why it's my number 4.
It's a good movie.
Of course.
Good choice. Good choice. It's not on my list because I didn't think of it, but that is a very good choice and good movie. That's a classic.
Oh yeah. Jay,
Our,
can you say about They Live?
Roddy Piper, my guy. It's one of those movies that, again, I didn't think would make my list because of the cheese factor, but I thoroughly fucking enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
It's the embodiment of Rowdy's fucking catchphrase, and there is no better wrestling movie or movie starring a wrestler, in my opinion. And the argument can be made that The Rock has moved away from, you know, Dwayne Johnson has moved away from making movies as a wrestler to being a full-on just fucking actor.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we're putting They Live against the Scorpion King. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, They Live would still fucking win, but you know, you get See No Evil and the fucking Marine and shit like this nowadays when it comes to wrestlers in movies. This is one of those last good movies where you have a wrestler who actually put everything on the fucking line in the ring.
Hey, I
But-
like See No Evil.
I mean, it was okay.
I would call that sci-fi though.
I
All right,
liked it.
let's go to number 3. All right. Go to the Queen. What do you got for number 3?
My number 3 movie was The Mist.
Oh shit. That is my number 3 also.
Oh, okay.
The
Well,
one with the guy who played Superman from Smallville.
I don't watch Smallville. Maybe. Okay, well, let's talk about it. So Stephen
Yes.
King's The Mist came out in 2007.
Yes.
So obviously there was a mist that they were in a store and like all the creatures came and they all were, trapped there. So it was a good movie, honestly.
Fuck yeah. This is why it's my number 3, because it hits all the beats of a horror film, because a lot of the killings, a lot of the humans dying, that fucking when they were just sitting in the grocery store. This was a film that at the time, me and my brother were in both different states and we watched this movie. And once that Christian religious fanatic woman, she's a great actress, by the way, I just can't place her name. Once she died, we were both in different states and we both had the same reaction in the theaters. People clapped. But that's not why this is a great sci-fi film. This is a great sci-fi film because they ripped a hole in time and space, and that's where all these creatures were coming from, different dimensions. That is sci-fi straight up. And the horror, the killings, I love the ending of this film.
Yep.
And this is one where, a lot of times they want to go with the the nice ending so people can leave happy. No, this one was the depression and despair. And the ending made this movie fucking great.
Too, because it's not like, personally, I don't like when all the movies are unrealistic because their endings are so like, oh, everybody's happy, because it's not real life. Like
blame the MPAA.
Yeah, like this one was like just not a happy ending, which is, to me, was so much better than like having a happy ending, because so many are just so fake and this one wasn't. And like you said, like all the creatures being pulled down was straight up sci-fi, and it had the horror and the killings, and when the real religious lady died, it was great. So yeah, it was a really, really good movie. So if you haven't seen it, you should see it.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Jay, what do you think?
I think this is actually one of the only horror movies on everybody's lists that I haven't seen.
What?
Yeah, wait,
never
is this
seen The
is this the one about the coastal town that has the fog coming in? No, wait, no, that's the fog. Yeah, no, this is the one I don't think I've seen.
This is a mist, not a fog.
I mean, we can argue semantics all we want, but a fog and a mist, literally the same fucking thing.
Well, this is called The Mist, and that was called The Fog.
And it all sounds like it's a remake of The Happening, even though The Happening came out afterwards. It's the fucking trees. The fucking trees are killing people. Fuck. Jesus. But no, I love Stephen King movies. Like, I might be one of the only people in the world who actually liked The Dark Tower.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because I think Idris Elba can do no wrong. Like Idris Elba for Jon Stewart, Idris Elba for James Bond. That's all I got to say on that one. But this'll, like Dog Soldiers, go ahead and send me a message with this movie's title in it, and I will definitely watch it.
Yeah. Now, all of Stephen King's movies, he's just
Maximum Overdrive. Give me that, and don't say all of Stephen King's movies.
Well, he directed that one himself. All right, Jay, what is your number 3?
My number 3 happens to be spoiled in the first 20 minutes of the movie if you speak Norwegian. It's The Thing, my guy. The Thing is my number 3 movie in horror and sci-fi. Kurt Russell and Keith David give some of my favorite performances of their careers. In this movie about an Antarctic base that may or may not be under siege by an alien life form. And the end of the movie can kind of be ambiguous because you don't necessarily know who walks away at the end, whether or not they've been infected or whether or not they are a person or the alien. And it brings about that paranoia that I like to see from a horror film. But yeah, The Thing is my number.
Nice. That's a good movie.
That and it's probably one of the most iconic movie posters of all time.
Yeah. I haven't seen that in a long time, but that's a good choice.
I'm really glad that I actually got to watch the original and didn't get to choose the remake with I get her and Mae Whitman confused all the time. Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh.
Not that the remake was bad, but the original is just so much better. It's like A New Hope is so much better than
What?
Why am I drawing a blank right now? Oh, what do you mean? Oh, you want to go outside? Give me 1 second.
All right. Yeah. So,
yeah. Yeah, it's a good movie, and I love Kurt Russell, so it's a plus.
oh, it is a great film. It was supposed to be on my list, but I somehow have it up here, but I must have skipped some shit or added something because it was supposed to be on my list and it just didn't make the cut. Fuck.
Once, I stopped being an idiot and realized what you were actually telling me, what the list had to be. I thought that you wanted a mixture of just horror and just sci-fi, and that's why I was like, nobody's answering my question. And then I was like, oh,
no, he meant horror and sci-fi movies, not horror and sci-fi movies.
Of both, of just horror and sci-fi. So then I was like, oh, I can make a list for days of those.
Oh, so it's two top 5 lists.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
I was having a really hard time grasping that. I was like, I'm
so
having such a blonde day.
This was supposed to be on my list and it just fucking got skipped. And
hey, it's okay. At least it made somebody's list, my guy. That's the thing.
This is a great film.
It was a really good film.
My number. All right, so we're gonna go to number 2s now. Number 2. I'll go first. My number 2 film is because of just as a kid watching this for the first time. I watched this movie when it first came out on VHS, and I think it was probably the same year or the year after. This is from 1986, and that is Jeff Goldblum's The Fly.
Good movie.
Yeah,
I watched this movie I literally watched this movie when I was 6 or 7 because it came out in 1986. So if I watched it when I was 6 or the year after when I was 7, this was the first film I remember that I had to leave the living room. I ran to my bedroom. I couldn't watch the whole thing first time. It was, when it came out.
Are you 40?
What?
Are you 40?
I'm 38.
Black don't crack, my guy.
I know. I think I was
Bro, I did not expect you to be fucking 38. I thought you were fucking 29.
Well, yeah, I know.
He's just exposing you like that.
Hey, I'm a grown man. I always say I'm the oldest guy in the games. I'm the oldest fucking guy here. I thought Graham was older than me, but nope, I am. But you know what? When you look this good, it don't really matter the age, Anyway,
if you look that good, you can lie about it.
Nah, I don't even lie. But yeah, this film, man, this one just stuck out to me because all the other films, like The Thing, I didn't watch till later after, so I was able to sit through it. But this was the first film that I literally got up and ran away because I was scared as shit, like a little bitch. I was like, oh no, I had to go to my bedroom, close the door, and have nightmares because just seeing the guy transforming like that shit was scary as hell to me, man. That's why That's why it's my number 2 film, man. It's just, it always stayed with me because Jeff Goldblum will go on to fucking be in Jurassic Park years later and be like this fucking sex idol. But before that, this dude was like terrorizing, as a deformed fucking man fly thing. Anyone?
It's a very Kafka-esque movie. I can say it. It took me a while to actually watch this movie. But when I sat down and I watched this movie, I was amazed. Like, it's one of those movies from the 80s that has I wouldn't necessarily say cheesy effects to it, but if they decided to say go ahead and remake The Fly today, they could probably do a better job. But the only way they could do a better job is if they still cast Jeff Goldblum in the same role. But you're not wrong, dude. This movie creeped the fuck out of me when I was younger.
Yeah. It was definitely creepy. Like, it didn't, like, terrify me. I'm, like, one of those weird people, and I can say this, like, honestly, no movie has ever scared me, like, to the point of, like, turning it off or not being able to sleep. I don't know why. Like, my stepsister and I remember we watched Freddy Krueger one night, and, like, she had her head between the couch pillows, and I'm just, like, sitting there, and we had to turn it off because she was petrified. And I've just been able to watch things, and just, they've never bothered me. I did, like, almost cry at a haunted house when I was little, though, from the Chainsaw Guys. Because we did the hay rides, and then my dad was like, let's go in the haunted house, and I was, like, nearly in tears. And then the next year we did it. But, like, movie-wise, nothing has ever scared me, and that's really weird because I don't know why. But it definitely was, like, one of those movies that, like, is creepy. I don't know.
All right. Then let's go to
such a weird person that nothing, like, so it's not really fun for me. Like, I love horror movies and scary movies, but it's not as fun. Like, I want to be afraid. I don't even jump when things, like, jump out. Like, I just sit there, like, I don't know.
No
jump scares for you.
So, Queen, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is I Am Legend.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. I have a question. It's not. There's a caveat to this, but are we talking I Am Legend with the theatrical ending, or are we talking I Am Legend with the fucking, like, actual end?
I mean, they're both good.
But one's more of a horror film ending than the other one is. Like, that's why I'm asking. Because Will Smith as Dr. Robert Neville fucking dies in one in a very horror movie-esque way where there's a fucking actual emotional payoff for it. And then the other one, you're just like, oh, no, we don't fucking care about him now because he did his whole little fucking... I'm voicing fucking donkey, but, you know...
No. The one where he dies.
Okay, so the good ending. Good ending. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it's not like that's gonna fucking completely destroy it and take it off my list or anything. I was just curious.
Yeah, no, the one that, like, emotionally scarred me.
The one where the fucking vampire zombie fucking breaks the glass and it turns into the butterfly and he fucking realizes everything at the fucking final moments of his life. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, horror movies don't affect me, but, like, movies like that, like, emotionally scar me. No.
That movie made me bawl like a bitch when he fucking killed. When he fucking, spoiler alert, kills his dog.
When he kills him. I cried so hard. Like, those movies, like, a horror movie doesn't bother me, but, like, when animals die in movies, like, I cry so hard. But yeah, that movie, it was so good. And I loved Will Smith in it, and it was just overall, like, a really well put together film. Him killing the dog made me cry for, like, hours. Not going to lie. So it was really, really emotional.
Be happy.
Snap.
Yeah, no. That was the worst, like, obviously part of the movie. Like I didn't care that like people died, but the dog, like that just did
fuck
it for me.
people, but animals.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. But the dog, like that's all that he had in the world. That was his best friend.
You know, until he found other people. But no, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, but that's all that he really cared about. But you know, it was a really good movie, and it just had my interest the whole time. It was one of those movies that I just like sat and watched. Like I didn't lose interest. So to me, it's hard to say it was horror but imagine yourself in that situation type thing. It would be horrifying.
For the first 2 acts of that movie, for the first act and a half of that movie, it is legitimately a horror film. You are the last person on Earth, and then
that's what I mean. Like, imagine yourself.
What a twist!
Yeah, that's what I mean. That like, imagine it's not like horrifying to the viewer, but imagine yourself as that person. It would be horrifying. So, to me, that has a little bit of both. So, it was an excellent movie, though, which is why it was my number 2.
Oh yeah, it's a really great film. I didn't have it on my list, but yeah, it was fucking off the chain. With Sam,
until he killed Sam.
That was heartbreaking. All right, let's go to Jay. If I'm not mistaken, what is your number 2?
So, one thing real quick, I just want to say that was like the last good Will Smith movie that Will Smith did.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a number 2 before we defined that it was and sci-fi. So I'm going to give you the real quick rundown on my first choice and then give you my actual choice. My first choice was Serenity.
That's a good movie.
And there are horror points to it, but that's not my choice. My number 2 choice, and you might see a little correlation between my number 2 choice and my number 1 choice. My number 2 choice is the 2016 Korean horror zombie drama Train to Busan. Well, I don't know who that was, but they clapped for it.
I thought you like had that planned. I was like, that was on time.
Yeah, but that was on fucking point right there. That's a 1 in a million. But you don't see very many movies nowadays that are filmed in like legitimately basically a single location that have to do with the world, world ending events. And one of those things being zombies. Like you have this cityscape. No, you have a fucking train in this movie. And you have people infected. And you have this, that, and the other. And whether or not you survive is probably the most horrific thing about a movie like this. And the fact that you literally have nowhere you can go and you are trapped in this location is by far probably one of the scariest things about it. Plus, you add zombies to a fucking situation like that, and boy, does it just go through the fucking roof.
I've never seen it, but it sounds pretty good.
Oh, it's a great film, especially if you love foreign films. It's a great horror foreign film. To me, it just was like, it was kind of in the vein of World War Z. You know, at least I like other countries' films because at the end they don't never really give you that happy ending. There's always like, oh fuck. We're like,
other countries' movies, they don't have to. They don't have the Motion Picture Association of America telling them that they have to have a good movie. The bad guy can't win at the end of the movie.
Right.
And America has that, and I think that kind of holds back on the storytelling. But I mean, even that being said, so it can be like literally a straight up horror movie, but I still think zombies fall in that realm of sci-fi.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I just didn't. It's a great storytelling movie, and it's in subtitles. Like there's, you're watching.
Yeah. See, that's what annoys me about that. I don't like subtitles.
Okay, well, wait 2 years. Wait 2 years, because New Line and James Wan are making an American version of it. So it's gonna probably fucking
ass.
It's gonna be
ass.
What like makes me like way.
I mean, you can get sometimes, and then you get the dub version where they're speaking English, which I don't mind either one. I love a lot of.
It's gonna be the Korean version of The Ring. You're gonna get an ass movie that loses half of its best storyline because it's not in the original language.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Now we're gonna go to number one. Number one. Excuse me. Let's go to Jay first. What do you got for number one?
Number one, like I said, my number one and my number two have a theme in common. My number two is a movie from 2013, directed by Joon-ho Bang.
Number one?
Stars, my number one, sorry. It stars Chris Evans, Octavia Spencer, John Hurt, Ed Harris, and Tilda Swinton.
Oh, yeah. Snowpiercer.
It's Snowpiercer. My God. Again, it's more of I would say it's a horror thriller, but again, it's in that post-apocalyptic setting, which automatically makes it a sci-fi movie. It's a movie about classism. You have the poor moving to the front of the train in this classic revolt, and you have people who would rather die than take over the reins of being the new upper class, and that's why they decide to blow up the fucking train. This is one of those movies that we talked about it earlier. It's a thinking man's movie.
What is it?
Snowpiercer. The movie is called Snowpiercer.
Oh.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. This is one of the movies that I first watched on brand new 55-inch LCD fucking 4K TV on my Xbox One, and it looks so good. That's not the reason why I liked the movie. It just enhanced my video watching experience. You have somebody like Chris Evans, who even the last 8 years has been most people's Captain America. You have this individual who can be taken out of that role, and you don't just watch this movie and be like, oh damn, it's fucked up that Captain America is doing something like that. You're literally sitting here and you're watching this movie and you're like, son of a bitch, oh shit, that's Chris Evans. Fuck, that's not Lucas Lee, that's not fucking Captain America, that's Chris Evans, and he's moving through this fucking train fucking people up. And it's a horrific fucking nightmare of an idea to be caught again in a train where you literally have no options. You can't fucking just get off at the next stop. The fucking train never stops moving. But there is still this fucking case about it. And something has to be done. People fucking die. People get their hands chopped off. There are cannibals in this fucking movie. It's a great movie, and I think if people don't watch it, they're kind of missing out on probably one of the best horror movies, at least one of the best sci-fi movies in the last decade.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's my number one.
Yeah, I didn't put this on my list because I didn't really have. The movie's a great fucking film. I remember seeing the trailer. And I was like, oh, shit, I want to see this movie. But I don't think it went to theaters here. So I had to buy it from Walmart. And as soon as it was available, I bought the film, watched it. I was in my zone. So I was fucking blown away. Like, oh, shit. I was like, oh, shit. But I didn't really catch too many horror elements from this. But it is horrifying, And I could see where some of the aspects are, especially when the little kids and stuff. I was like, damn, that's fucked up. It's horrible. But, yeah, this is a great fucking film. It was shot beautifully. It is. It goes to places you wouldn't expect it to go. It's, so some of the things. Well, a lot of these movies have plot holes, but some of the things there where I was like, oh, okay, but it was. This movie was unique as hell, and everything was claustrophobic. So it didn't have the horror elements. I just didn't think of putting this on my list, but I love this fucking film.
I do own the film. It was greatly done. It was shot really, really well. And it was a good pick for number one. I didn't even honestly think about it when it came to my list, but it was a good choice. It was a good movie, and it was really, really, really well put together. Good.
Okay. All right, let's go to Nicole's number one.
Movie. Number one is Frankenstein.
Wait. Which Frankenstein?
Hmm.
Which Frankenstein? Are we talking? Who plays Frankenstein in your Frankenstein movie, my guy? Are we talking like Boris Karloff?
What do you mean? Hopefully original.
Like,
Huh?
I said, are we talking like Boris Karloff Frankenstein? Like, what are we talking?
Which Frankenstein?
There have been multiple movies named Frankenstein. I'm just trying to narrow down your selection. That's why I'm asking.
It's the one that came out. Hold on, got it.
The 1930s. Excuse us, ladies and gentlemen. It's a quick dive on IMDb. So allow us to serenade you.
Quickly.
Or are you talking the 1931 Frankenstein with yeah. Are you talking the Karloff where Boris Karloff is Frankenstein's monster? Like the
Nicole?
I think she might be IMDbing it, or she might be in the middle of looking certain informations up. I wasn't trying to chase her away. I just wanted clarification, as reasons.
Oh, you still there? All right, I'm gonna go to my number one, which was a film that Nicole mentioned earlier, and that is Pandorum from 2009. Oh,
I didn't
man,
expect this to be your number one.
I think it's my number one because it fits both categories perfectly well. In the last, 10 years, this was a surprising hit for that genre alone, for the horror sci-fi genre. It blended so well. I remember watching this. I bought it on DVD.
Okay, sorry. Did you guys hear anything that I said?
Nope.
No.
Okay, my phone just decided to end the call. But go on, I'll go last.
All right. Yeah, I was talking about Pandorum, one that you had on your list earlier.
Yeah.
I fucking love this film. I'm not saying it's the top greatest horror sci-fi film, but to me, hey, if people haven't watched this film, man, you should definitely go out and watch this one. I was in my zone. I bought it on DVD, because the trailer looked intriguing. Man, I had to stop this shit like 5 times. Go outside, smoke cigarette. I was like, holy shit! Like, just they had some twists that were unique at the time, but I probably was way too in the zone that they might have not been that great. But there was 3 of them plot twists that I didn't see coming, and when they happened, I was like, holy shit! One, just them thinking they were lost in space, and the whole time that was like, oh, and and then shit, fuck, I can't even think of the guy's name, but it had a couple of twists that I didn't expect, and it just kept. It was really thrilling. It was really thrilling to me, and it was a sleeper one. This was when Norman Reedus wasn't really that big time yet. He was in the movie a little bit. The lady that was in this film, she showed up years later and was in Man of Steel. She played Ferrora, and she was actually going to quit Hollywood until Zack Snyder called her up, said, "Hey, you got the role." But yeah, this was I think was Ben Forrest in this thing. He was in this thing. Forrester, good.
Ben Foster.
Ben Foster. That's Forrester. Ben Foster.
Dennis Quaid was in it.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid was really good for a sci-fi film. Like, I was like, yo, this is fucking
Quaid, brother.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid was actually really good in it, surprisingly, because he usually sticks with like comedies and like.
Yeah, That's what I'm saying. He went a whole different way. But Nicole, you had this on your list. Go ahead, girl.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you said. I didn't like hear the beginning of it. But yeah, it was really good. It had so many plot twists in it. It was just one of those movies that you just wanted to keep watching. And it's one that like you can watch again and not get sick of. And it had a lot of sci-fi in it, which was good. And it had the, horrifying aspect in it of them getting amnesia and like thinking all these people are dead and it being like so far in the future and not knowing and having, not being alone technically, out in outer space and just everything that happened to them in general. It was just, that's the horrifying aspect of it. And, the things that are there with them and stuff like that. And it's just a really good movie and I definitely recommend it. It was very well put together and the actors in it were great. Like I said, Dennis Quaid played really, really well. Ben Foster was excellent in it. Like they played really well off of each other and it was just a really fantastic movie.
Yeah. All right, let's go to your number one. You said Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah. I did say Frankenstein and the actor was Colin Clive. It was like the like in the 30s.
So Colin Clive played Dr. Frankenstein. Karloff played his monster, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we were talking about the same Frankenstein.
Yes.
We just had a couple of wires crossed. Okay, so you are talking the Boris Karloff Frankenstein.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Does that count or no? Because I have a second number
one.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Count.
Oh no, that definitely counts. That's technically body horror, you fucking stitching a body together with the fucking brain of a serial killer and then bringing him back to life.
Okay.
That's mad sci-fi right there.
I'm like, I looked all of these up beforehand and they were all in that category, but
Oh, I fucking didn't. I just threw my list together and was like, if you don't like it, suck a dick.
Well, I wrote the wrong list to begin with, so I had to hurry up and do a second one. But yeah, to me, like Frankenstein was one of my favorite movies. My grandma actually had it on VHS when I was younger, so it was of course like the 1931 film, which is how I started watching it to begin with. And it was always like, we just always watched Frankenstein for some reason, and she had it black and white VHS. We always watched it. So it's just one of my favorite movies to watch. Like, I mean, I would always want to watch it like year round. She's always had it, and to me, it's just a classic, obviously, for like everybody. I'm sure there's some people that don't like it, but I don't know. There's really not too much to say about it except for the fact it's obviously like just good. It's good actors, just a good film in my opinion. So that's why it's my number one.
All right, awesome.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you there, Haven. So just to throw a little bit more on the fire for Frankenstein itself, it might not be one of those movies that everybody knows Boris Karloff, but everybody knows Karloff Dracula. Okay, fair enough. A little bit more on the creepier side, but if you think about it, yes, body horror, Frankenstein is one of those. It's a thoroughly creepy fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and whether you like it or not, that movie is a fucking classic. You ask me what a classic movie is, I'll give you a fucking classic horror movie with a classic horror monster like Frankenstein before I give you, oh no, Wizard of Oz or Gone with the Wind. Fuck those movies when it comes to the 1930s and their horror monsters.
Yeah.
But you have Boris Karloff who brings this almost unfathomable depth to a character that Mary Shelley less than a century before tried to bring to it. And shout out to William Bibiani and Whitney Seibold. They literally just did on critically acclaimed their podcast. Go check it out. Support their Patreon. Do the same for us. That's all I'm saying. Like, subscribe, share. They talked about it, and I think they hit on it a little bit, better than all three of us have combined. It's one of those things that has created the monster horror genre. And you really didn't have anything like a monster horror movie before something like Frankenstein. So to create a genre from a single movie, it takes something special. But to be able to go back to that well time and time and time again is one of those things that means that you have not even necessarily a unique property, but just a property that you can go back to time and time again and create the same story in such a unique way. That's one of the things that I love about Frankenstein.
Absolutely. And it just, to me, it's one of those movies that like never gets old, and it's just, it truly is a classic, and it's not one of like these stupid, like, you didn't need like blood and like,
unless you add Aaron Eckhart or Daniel Radcliffe. That's
yeah,
all I'm saying.
like you didn't need like that, and it was still like a scary movie, and it was just well put together, and it's just a class. Same with Dracula, like the original Dracula, like those are just good movies, and they're both technically sci-fi.
Horror to the children of the night.
Yeah, I mean, they're both obviously unrealistic characters or sci-fi, and they're terrifying. You know, it's a scary movie. They're both in that category, and they're both excellent classic movies that people will be watching.
I think another point to bring up is put yourself in the mind or the body of an individual walking into a movie theater or a talkie theater in 1931, never having experienced something like a horror movie before.
Right.
Like, okay, so yeah, you had Gwen playing the Man Who Laughs a couple of years earlier, but that's not necessarily like a horror movie. That's just a man with a deformed face who happened to become the basis for the Joker. You don't have these classic monster movies. Kind of take them for granted. You know, we have Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Abbott and Costello meet the Wolfman. Fucking Scooby-Doo met these motherfuckers. And you're just like,
right.
Well, son of a bitch, what are we going to do? Give it 5 years. Key and Peele will be harder for money, and Key and Peele will be the new Abbott and Costello. Like,
all right.
Imagine being that person in 1931 who's never even seen a horror movie going.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. Those are our top 10. So we're gonna go around the world and go from 1 to 10, starting with Jay.
Oh, you want me to list them in fucking order?
Yeah.
Okay.
I crossed all mine out.
My number 10 was Dog Soldiers. My number 9, where did it go? Was Army of Darkness. My number 8 was The World's End. My number 7 was Hellboy 1 and 2. So you got an extra one on the list. My number 6 was Alien. My number 5 was The Abyss. My number 4 was Children of Man. My number 3 was The Thing. My number was another tie between Serenity and The Train to Busan. And my number 1 was Snowpiercer.
All right. I'm going to go next. I guess I'm going to go number 10. I had Killer Clowns from Outer Space. My number 9, I had Jason X. My number 7, I had Attack the Block. No, sorry. My number 8 was Cloverfield? Shit, my list is all over the place.
So yeah, I don't remember the order.
I think I had 8 at Cloverfield. Number 7 was Attack the Block. Number 6 is, that's where I messed up at. I don't even know what my number 6 is.
Hey, I'm not the one to fuck it up. Yeah.
Yep. I had 28 Days Later as my number 5. Number 4, I had They Live. I had The Fly as number 2. So my number 3 was The Mist. And my number 1 was Pandorum. All right, the Queen, what do you have?
I don't know. Don't ever have me on here again. I just screw it up. The number 10 I know was The Ring. I had number 9 as question.
Was it The Faculty? I think number 9 was The Faculty.
We'll just go to Faculty, sure.
I'm sorry, go ahead and try to pronounce that one more time just because I find it hilarious.
Number is Jason. Yeah. We'll go with number 7 was Prometheus. These probably aren't even in the right order. 6, I think, was
30 Days of Night, right?
I don't know. They're all out of order.
All right. No, if you don't have
30
it,
Days
fine.
a Night, and then I think 5 was Pandorum. 4 was 3 was The Mist. 4 and 1. I can't find 4.
Well, yeah, this
Skip,
we just have to
skip
watch
number
them.
4. Skip
We'll
number
just watch
4.
them.
Go
Yeah.
to number 3, number 2, and number 1.
Yep. Well, she had The Mrs. number 3, and she had Frankenstein number 1.
Okay, cool. It was The Mist. Yeah, number 3 was The Mist. Number 2 was I Am Legend, and number 1 was Frankenstein.
See, there you go. Watch the rest of the video. That what her number 4 was, her number 5, her number 6, her number 7, her number 8, and her number 9. And then go watch
Yeah,
them.
I don't know what any of my numbers are, except for like 5 of them. Sorry.
It's
That's
all
fine.
right. It happens.
All right. Yeah, that was our list tonight, guys, for our horror/sci-fi. We're gonna go around the room and find out where we can find these people.
Oh, it was Life. It was Life. Probably missing. Sorry.
Nobody cares because it's not a slice of life.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie sucked. That's why it's crossed out. But carry on.
All right, let's go to Jay. Where can the good people find you, bro?
Bro, you can find me on Facebook at Jay Burns. You can find me on Instagram at bargang_Burns. You can find me on Twitter at jburns253. You can find me on Letterboxd at jbr253. And you can find me going to watch fight because I want to see if Khabib beats McGregor in the 3rd round. Like I said, right now, I'm out. I love y'all. Thanks for having me. Get at me when we're doing the video games next, my guy.
All right.
Stay there, brother. Peace.
And all right, let's go to the Queen. Where can the good people find you?
You can find me on Facebook or on Jack of All on Wednesdays, or contrivially, probably not on here because I made a mess up. Yeah,
All right.
that's about it.
All right. And of course, you can find me, Haven, the villain Pendergast. You can find me on Facebook at Jack of All Trivia. That's how we become friends. That's how you join the league. And of course, you can find me on YouTube at Jack of All Trivia. I want to thank Jay, the arsonist Burns. I want to thank Nicole, the Queen Morris, for being here tonight. This has been the Naughty List. People, stay naughty, stay classy. Peace.